Hey everybody, it's Ozone. Update 17 is now publicly available, so that means it's time for another update, Roundup. It's been over 4 months since the last update is released, and normally this is where I would complain about the lack of frequency of updates. But given everything that's going on, I'm surprised that there is an update. I had kind of written off Vault Hunters as being completely dead, but no. Iskall and crew have managed to bring it back to life, and I'm rather happy about that, honestly. So much of my YouTube has been focused on Vault Hunters. I really love to see that they've been able to continue. Now, unlike previous releases, this one was announced well ahead of time, with the release date actually given. All of the releases that I can remember in the past have had a projected update, but there was some very real uncertainty about whether or not they would actually hit it, and oftentimes didn't. So I feel like this is reflective of the new team that's being put together. I really don't know how many people from the dev team are new and how many stayed on through the turmoil, but I really get the feeling that there's some new leadership involved in the development team. And I think that the changes that we're seeing in this update are reflective of that team change. Now, if you haven't yet updated to update 17, there are some very, very important disclaimers that are shown right here on the screen right now, because they made a lot of changes that can break your worlds. So please, please, please make sure that you understand the impacts of these changes before you do the update. Now, obviously, if you build with the chipped mod, well, you want to pay special attention to that announcement. In addition to removing the chipped mod, several of the other mods have been updated as well. If you run into any problems launching Vault Hunters after applying update 17, look closely at the mods that were updated, because there may be an old one hanging around or something. I don't know that this is a problem, but anytime you've got mod version changes, it's just always a good idea to double check your folder and see what's actually sitting in there, and just make sure that it's all the correct versions. But I think that there's a reasonable number of people that are not terribly upset or affected by the chipped mod change. What might be the big impact, though, is the Vault Forge. You want to make sure and remove most, if not all, of the items from the Vault Forge before updating. The inventory's been updated so that it only stores gold and vaulterite. Before, it would store about a dozen objects, and there really was no specific types involved because so many different things could be used in the Vault Forge. But that's no longer the case. And I'm not really sure what happens if you don't update it, but we love our loot with Vault Hunters, and so I would not take the chance if I were you. Well, with all those warnings out of the way, let's jump into some of the changes. First up on the patch notes list, we have the keyring, which is meant to hold all of your treasure keys in one spot. Up until this point, you had to dedicate a slot in your backpack or inventory to each of the keys that you were bringing into the vault. Now, most people couldn't afford to have more than 2 or 3 keys, but that's still 2 or 3 slots that's being filled up, and now they can be all condensed into a single key ring. The key ring itself is made with 4 key pieces of POG and some chromatic steel, so not terribly expensive, but 4 key pieces could be used instead to craft a key, so you are sacrificing essentially 1 key to be able to craft the key ring. To add keys to the key ring, you simply right-click with the key ring in the air, and then you can shift-click the keys in there or click and drag, any of the normal things. It looks like you can have only 64 keys. Nope, you can have more than that. It looks like there might be no limit to the number of keys that you can have in here, or at least no reasonable limit. And of course, when you go to open a treasure door, you just click it with the key ring itself, and it will automatically use the appropriate kind of key out of it. So definitely a nice quality of life improvement, not terribly groundbreaking. I never saw that there was a problem with walking around with 8 or 9 keys in my backpack, but any quality of life improvement is a welcome one. Next up, we have the reason why the Vault Forge update happened in the first place. And that's because all of the Trinket creation was removed from the Vault Forge and put into this brand new block, the Trinket Forge, which looks pretty neat and has several unspecified inventory slots over here, much like the old Vault Forge did. I don't know why they're general though, because it looks like all of the trinkets need the same kinds of materials in order to craft them. So it seems like they should be able to keep these specific to a certain type, right? Vault diamonds, vault gold, alexandrite, and trinket scrap. That should be all we need right here, unless there's something that I'm missing. Now, why did they make a separate trinket forge? I don't really remember the rationale that Iskall gave. I think it was basically for clarity and trying to keep things of a specialized function, right? And the Vault Forge was getting a little too messy, I think. Don't quote me on it, but that makes sense to me. Crafting of the trinkets is basically like it always was. You have to have first encountered the trinket in order to be able to craft another one like it. And as you can see, there's some trinkets down here that I have not encountered yet. Just a matter of selecting the right trinket and then hitting craft. The one thing I am really curious about is, does it break them down? So can I, oh no, you can't even put the extraordinaries in there. They have to be the individual small gems to go into the forge. Interesting. Well, now we know. Now, coincidentally, these 3 trinkets down here that I've not yet discovered in this world are the 3 new trinkets that were added in this update. We have the Healing Salve, which gives you a healing efficiency boost, the Shadow Cloak, which lets you become invisible, and Slimy, which lets you bounce off of things. There was previously a Slime trinket, but that has been renamed to Sticky, as it would more accurately reflect the function of being able to climb vertically up surfaces. Speaking of new things being added, we have new inscriptions being added to the inscription table. We have 3 what I would call bottom tier inscriptions that were previously not available, but Chromatic Caves is an incredible inscription that can be added because sometimes chromatic iron can be very difficult to find, especially early game. So this would force one to be added to your crystal. The farm comes from the raw vaults. It's basically supposed to be a place where you can find farm-like resources. And then they have emerald caves where you can find a bunch of emeralds like the diamond caves that there also exist. These 2, I think, are less important, but I know there have definitely been times where I would have loved to have a chromatic cave. Now, additionally, there is a raid room inscription and a laboratory inscription that have been added so that you can force these 2 particular rooms to be added to the vault as well. You know, for when you want to make sure to trigger a raid. Make your chances a little more likely, I suppose. These are not earth-shattering, but it's nice to have more control over crystal crafting and what you're going to get in your vaults. What might be more earth-shattering if I could show you are the new brews that have been added, the Knowledge Brew and the Mentors Brew. But like I said, I can't show you for some reason. They're not in the creative menu. So maybe this is a bug. Maybe you'll figure out how you can make it in your world. I don't really know how you're supposed to bake it because it doesn't seem to be available, at least in my world. And like I said, maybe that's a bug. What they're supposed to do, I rather like, honestly, and I think it's a great idea. The Knowledge Brew is meant so that when you make it, you give it to another player, and when they drink it, they get all of the knowledge that you have. Now, it is based on a snapshot in time, so if you make the Knowledge Brew and then unlock more knowledge, the new knowledge will not be part of the Knowledge Brew. But it's a really good way to help players catch up when they've started late, for instance. And the Mentors Brew is meant to do the same thing. It's meant to bring another player up to your current level automatically after they drink the brew. Again, it's a snapshot, so if you gain a level after making the brew, they're not going to get it. But again, it's a catch-up mechanism that I think is really great, and I really don't know why I can't show you. But it's supposed to be in the update, and I think it's important enough to share, even if it's just me sitting here bobbing around in my house. Oh, well, I think this must be it. I don't know why it's called a must-start brew, but if you look at the tag itself, it does say it's a knowledge brew, requiring 4 knowledge stars and 4 echo gems. It's quite expensive, honestly, but at the same time, it's pretty powerful. I have no idea why it's called the must-start brew, and I still have no idea how to make the mentor brew. What I can show you, and another really, really good quality of life, is the trial chamber vault rock here. This is a vault rock and will open a vault just like any other, but it's meant to be used to experiment. You won't get any experience, you won't save any of the loot that you get, and if you die in the vault, nothing bad will happen. No durability penalties, you don't lose your gear, all that good stuff. It's basically an experiment, and the goal is to give you the ability to try out new builds without any of the risk of losing everything if for some reason the build just really doesn't work out the way you thought it might. The Trial Chambers rock is super easy, needing only a Dreamstone and a Vault rock. Dreamstones start at about level 20, I think. Yeah. So you should be able to very easily do this. And again, I love it. It's a huge quality of life thing for people that love to experiment with their loadouts and skills and equipment. So definitely a really big improvement. Another block that's received a rework in terms of how it works is the skill altar behind me. Well, honestly, skills in general, or specifically unlearning skills. The skill altar functionality is the same and the interface is mostly the same, but what we're lacking here is the regret orbs that previously needed to be collected in order to actually regret skills. Similarly, regretting skills can now be done within the skill screen itself, and it takes only Vault Gold. All of the regret nuggets, regret chunks, and regret orbs have now been moved to a legacy category and are basically only good for soul dust. Given that you're in this screen trying to determine what skills that you do or don't want, being able to regret them right here makes a lot of sense, and it further centralizes the currency of the game to be Vault Gold. This is a streamlining, basically, of the experience, and one that I can get behind. I think it makes a lot of sense. But surely there are changes inside the vault, right? Oh yeah, for sure. The biggest one is that there's a brand new objective, a kill the boss objective, bringing back the Boogey Man and other notable bosses from the past, including a big nasty spider. And also following the patterns of recent developments, this one is customizable as well. To get the boss kill objective, you need the seal of the executioner. Technically, it's called Hunt the Runes, not kill the boss, but regardless, this seal is pretty easy to craft, taking a wooden sword. I never thought that I would see a use for a wooden sword, but I guess it makes sense, and it's better than a diamond sword anyway. So let's craft up one of those crystals, hop into a vault, and see what it does. And oh, by the way, the crystal workbench got a model update. Hardly shocking, but it looks better now, I think. So this objective is called Collect the Runes because you have to collect a certain number of runes in order to spawn the boss. And up top, it's reminding you that that's your goal. Now, the boss room will always be the first room as you enter the vault. And here you can see how many runes you need to collect. This one requires 3 and is a golem of some kind. And so the objective of the vault is to find 3 runes that you want to apply to this pedestal, summon the boss, and defeat the boss before your time limit is up. You don't get extra time. Also, when you summon the boss, the doors close and you cannot leave. Also, this room is like it's in adventure mode. You can't break anything. Even while I'm in creative, I can't break the blocks about it. And not only can you not break anything, you can't place any blocks either. So it makes it pretty hard to pillar up and cheese a boss. You know, you just got to fight it the old-fashioned way, it seems. So anyway, what are these runes like? And where do you get them? Well, just like in Elixir, you get runes by doing any activity in the vault, killing mobs, looting any kind of chest. Okay? So you basically get them anywhere just by running in the vault. There are 9 total rune types, and each one will do 2 things. It will buff the boss in some way, and it will specify a reward that you get when you defeat the boss. And the 9 different types of runes are the 9 different ways in which the boss can be buffed. You can add a melee attack. You can add a heavy melee attack. You can add ranged attack. You can add buffs to the boss, like maybe regeneration or fireproof or something. I don't even really know. Those kinds of things. And then, like I said, at the same time, it also specifies your reward. That can be gold or vault gear or any other special kinds of items, honestly. So let's go find some runes and check it out. Now, apparently these runes aren't all that uncommon. I wasn't using any item buffing gear, and I really only cleared out 1/2 of one room. And I got 4 boss runes. You probably want to make a pouch or something to store these things, but as you can see, we got 1 of 4 different types. This is a buff effect for the boss, and the reward is a booster pack, a mixed booster pack. This one is increased damage, so the boss will just do more damage. And you get some vault leggings that are at least rare. Here we got extra health. That always is rough. Giving you a vault sword, and a melee attack giving you a vault axe. I hate axes. So we're going to use the other 3. Now, before I get started, they do say that there are other boss rooms like this in the vault, or, well, can be. They're pretty darn rare, and they could have a different boss and require a different number of runes to do. But they're not guaranteed to be in here. They just can exist. So let's pop these guys on one at a time. Pop that one in and says, okay, buff effect. Pop this guy in. It says extra health. And of course, we get to also see the rewards now circling around the boss when it's completed. Last one, and now we get the doors sealing up and the boss itself summoned. Look at that, 4,800 health. No problem when you've got such massive strength buff like I've got. And the vault is over. Once back at home, you've got your completion crate, which gives you the rewards that you've selected, as well as some other things based on your overall vault experience and completion. Not the best reward crate, but then I didn't do that much in the vault either. Just killed the boss. Now, we didn't get to see any of those special buffs or special attacks because I was in creative and the boss just stood there like a dummy. But each of the different boss types has their own special attacks and special buffs that can get added based on the runes that you select. So some bosses are going to be better to take with a buff, and some bosses are going to be better to take with maybe an extra ranged attack. It depends on the boss. I can imagine that the golem probably doesn't have that powerful of a ranged attack, but hey, that's just me theorizing. And you know what they say? That's just a vault theory. No, I'm just plain patronizing now. Let's move on. Now, there are a few other changes to the vaults as well, and I've been flying around here trying to find either a village room or a factory room, and I found a village room first. But going back to the boss room, the extra boss rooms in the vaults, I think I found like 4 or 5 of those before I found this one village room. So the boss room is not as rare as it seems. Anyway, there are a number of new unique items that are available in the game, and the village room has now gotten a unique crate added to it somewhere. I can only assume it's somewhere down deep underneath in the dungeon. The unique crate, however, should look something like this and should give you a unique gear piece when broken. Apparently, creative generated ones don't count. We have to find them generated in the vault, it would seem. To help you navigate the uniques in the game, they've created this unique codex, which gives you a list of all of the unique items. Just having a list doesn't actually do that much for you. So, oh, there we go. You can select one of them and it gives you an idea about where it drops. Looks like this gladiator buckler is one of the things that can drop from villages. Or maybe the honey stick. Ooh, that looks pretty neat. Anyway, there's a quest for creating this codex and it should help you to navigate the world of uniques. Remember, unique items are supposed to be a best in use, not the best overall weapon. Best in niche, I think, was the term that Iskall used. So they're really good in a very particular sort of way. Well, I did find a unique down here. I accidentally messed up on recording it, but doesn't this honey stick look pretty neat? Anyway, it was just sitting on a table in some random room here in this dungeon labyrinth underneath the village. So they're not really hidden at all. They're just randomly placed around, and I have to assume that, sometimes they're not going to generate at all. I did search the whole thing, and I only found the one unique crate in here. But, now you know that there's one in here, and it's not that hard to get to. There is another one inside the factory room. So if you're hunting uniques, the factory room now has a purpose when most people will just ignore it and run straight on through. And just because it's fun, let's show what this thing does. It's got a 73% shocking hit chance. So no matter what you do, you're almost always going to apply a shocking hit. Wow. So if you've got a build that's centered around shocking hit, well, that's one way to do it. Now, there are a few more changes to the vaults, but they're mostly cosmetic. Crabs in the coconut theme have been replaced with an all-new mob, as well as the wraiths in the nether theme. They wanted to get away from using mobs from other mod packs, making it easier to remove those mod packs in the future, if I have to guess, although there was no reason given for these changes. One other thing they expanded are the decks themselves. There always were several different kinds of decks, including some special ones that you could find in the vaults. Now, however, the decks themselves can have modifiers on them. I can't really show you because I didn't find one, but they're supposed to exist in the vaults. And these modifiers can be things like all greens are 10% more effective, or all of the cards in these slots are going to be more effective, or something like that. So it's a global modifier on the deck itself. And this can really make deck building a whole lot more interesting, in my opinion. Like I said, I really want to be able to show you, but I just didn't find any. One more thing updated is the junk management research that we have here in the looting grouping. And specifically, it's the way that you select blocks that are going to be either saved or voided using this new Void Crucible. The Void Crucible is an expensive block, requiring this Echo Pog in the middle. Junk management always has been an in-game thing and meant to be expensive. The Void Crucible has these 3 tabs. On the first tab here, needing some vault alloy and gold, you can create vault stones, and these are the things that you wear in a necklace slot that will make the voiding happen. As you can see, there are different modifiers here, and I don't believe this was something that the previous void charm did at all. So, I mean, it looks like it's just a little bit of extra bonus here, but also notice that they are treated like trinkets and that they have a fixed number of uses. So you're going to have to come back here and keep crafting more. On this tab, you can see all of the themes in the vault and then see the kinds of blocks that you're going to get in there. If you don't want the warped door, for instance, you can select it here, and it does automatically get added to your void list over here. So you can go through every single one and say, I don't want the gate here, and I don't want fences here. I mean, and just keep going. Now, your void list itself obviously is limited. According to the information page here, it says it can be upgraded with Vault Junk upgrades, but the only ones that I see have been also marked Legacy. So I don't know how to make the upgrades or how expensive they are. But given that Vault Junk management is one of the in-game items that you're working toward, I would have to guess they're pretty darn expensive. I also don't see any way to apply the upgrades to this, though it's also possible that it's just not quite done yet, or something's bugged in my system. I'm not really certain. Unfortunately, things just don't always work for the video. I wish it did. And I don't have all the answers sometimes, but it's at least good to know that the junk controller has been reworked and that there's a new way of doing it. I do really like that they list all of the themes here and allow you to select all of the items from the themes. Also interesting to note is that I selected a cut tough brick wall from another theme and put it into the void list, and it's showing up in this theme as well. So it's definitely not theme specific. I really like this part of it. One other system that's been updated, and I think you're seeing a trend here, is that vault burgers are no longer craftable. You're meant to find them inside the vendors or other things inside the vault, but you're no longer going to find the burger components themselves or be able to make the burgers. As a result, burgers are now much more powerful. Eating one should give you a lot more experience than it did previously. On to some of the more minor changes. The last update had a real problem at low levels with finding gemstones. So those drop rates have been increased dramatically in order to make it more accessible. Also, vault magnets have had not really a cosmetic update, but a verbiage update. The attributes on these now say pull speed and pickup range instead of speed and velocity, just to make things more clear. And dungeon rarities have been tweaked a little bit in order to make normal dungeons more common than rare dungeons. They were too far slid the other way, and you would find a disproportionate number of the impossible or challenging type of dungeons. So normal or easy should happen much more commonly now, as well as the usual plethora of fixes and tweaks and balances. A number of the skills and abilities have been tweaked slightly in balances in ways that I really don't know that I can communicate effectively. So if these kinds of things are really up your alley, then you're best off just checking the patch notes, unfortunately. But there we have it. Whew. Update 17 Roundup wrapped up and ready to go. I've really kind of wrestled with making this, so if you did enjoy the video, if you did find it helpful, please let me know in a comment, give the video a like, and oh, better yet, subscribe. That would mean an awful lot to me. So thank you for making it to the end of the video, and until next time, remember, be excellent to each other. I'm out.